2 minutes till broadcast. One minute till broadcast. Thirty seconds till broadcast. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin transmission.
Fighting for freedom every day.
Let me tell you, the response to the show has been absolutely amazing. People can't believe that a young conservative millennial continues to fight for constitutional principles, traditional values, and talks about issues that some are even afraid to talk about. But we do it because we understand the importance of this. And now we're seeing it absolutely blow up all across the nation.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Yeah, buddy, that's what I'm talking about. It is a Thursday, the pre-Friday celebration, one of the best days of the entire week. You can't deny it. Welcome in. We have so much to get to today. But first, I have to admit, we've been knocking on doors, talking, getting politically engaged in the community. And by the way, welcome into the show. No matter where you may be, we're broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation on the flagship station here, the KQAM in Wichita, Kansas, all over the country on radio, TV, live streaming on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, Podbean Live, plus the website at HooserReason.com. So thanks for hanging out with us. I have seen more politically engaged people than I can remember. I've been campaigning the last few years, helping out different candidates in local areas around the state of Kansas where we're from here, and seeing people, talking to people, they're usually like, yeah, okay, and they'll take some flyers and walk on by and continue their business. This year, I'm already seeing people engaged. We're seeing flags being flown. We're seeing political signs being out. We're seeing people talk about it. They want to talk to you when you go up and knock on their door. It's great. It's good to see. Are we, though, a little too confident? That's always my worry. I'm concerned. I get paranoid going into election season that we get too much into our echo chambers and we get too excited sometimes to where we just take it for granted. And then sometimes, oh, I missed the election. Oh, it'll be all right. I don't have to worry about it. Someone else has got this for us. And then we end up losing things. So there's a lot to get to today. I want to talk about the election. I want to talk about some of the statements being made from both sides on the campaign trail, because we do like to follow election 2020.
Election 2020.
Yeah, so we have that going on here as well. And but first, to talk about some of that and more. Oh, by the way, too, I'm so excited. So we have some audio clips from Kayleigh McEnany, as you know, the press secretary for President Donald Trump in the White House, because she had a press conference just a couple hours ago, and it was fantastic. First off, she went after Nancy Pelosi for the whole salon thing, which I've been trying to stay away from talking about that, but it keeps popping up, and she laid out some really good points. Plus, the issue with the mail-in voting, the media now criticizing President Trump for encouraging people to vote twice. And is he really encouraging people to vote twice? Of course he's not. So we'll break into that here in a little bit as well. But to talk about election season and to take a little bit different perspective from this, I don't know if you're aware or not, but there are a lot of quote unquote moderates in the country, which I don't know quite what a moderate is defined as any longer, which maybe our guests can help enlighten us on that one, because the majority of the country is moderate right leaning. No, I don't quite know what that means. Maybe it's just different issues. I believe Republican issues on this way, progressive issues on this issue, or maybe it's let's find the happy balance between the two, or, what exactly that stands for. Plus, the RNC and the DNC really got, I think, their parties energized, their bases ready to go, but did it really address some of the serious issues? So I want to talk about all that and more with our next guest. He is the author of the book, The 2020 American Revolution, 2020 Decision Support for Voters. It's Mac Regan hanging out on the line with us here today. Mac, how are you, my friend?
I'm great, Andy. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you bet. It's great to have you on the show. I appreciate the time very much. The RNC and the DNC, I have to admit, the RNC probably, to me at least, was one of the most inspiring conventions I have seen in a very long time. The Republicans really focused on success stories. They focused on minority success stories, women. I mean, they really focused on what the left has been criticizing them for hating all these years. And now we see this, and I think it really energized the base. President Trump's approval rating among minority voters shot up like 60% after the convention. Is it enough to get him through the election? We'll see in a few months, though. It was the hoorah emotional, but between the RNC and the DNC, what did they really talk about, and did we really focus on any serious issues that need to be addressed in the country?
Not much, to be honest with you. I think, the show far outshone the content at both conventions. I studiously stayed away from both conventions. What I did was read the fact checks the next day and covered the, analysis on both sides by professional journalism. I think it's really easy, and you alluded to this early, to get caught up in the hype and the speeches and the whole flash of the thing. And I think that's true in both cases. I think this country has serious issues. I mean, you raise the liberal versus moderate versus conservative. Mm-hmm. We exist in the United States, citizens do, on a continuum. It's not where you have a hard right and we have a hard left. Those actually are the least representative groups. If you look at progressive activists or real hardcore members of the Democratic Party that are really the progressives, it's only about 8% of the folks out there. If they're really hardcore devoted conservatives on the other side, it's only about 6%. So you have about 11% traditional liberals, 19% traditional conservatives who fill those things in. But then you have 15% what they call passive liberals, whatever that is, and 15% moderates. But the biggest group, Andy, is the 26% what they call politically disengaged. Those are the people, when you go do your door pounding, you're going to find this year are more engaged than they ever have been.
Sure.
So the reason for that, in my perspective, is not because the conventions got one group or the other fired up, because the groups that were listening to the conventions were the people on the far right, the people on the far left, and the people in the middle who have traditionally been disengaged. I think they're more active for a simple reason. We have a lot of problems.
Yeah.
And the Congress and the president, and neither party has effectively laid out a systematic approach to attacking those problems. It's more of the same. So, if you're a Republican, you sort of follow the Darwinian science, where the market, like nature, dictates who wins and who loses. On the other hand, if you're sort of thinking about things as from the Democratic side, you're trying to make everything work out equitably. You don't want anybody to go home angry. So your economic policy basically gives everybody a party favor and a lollipop. So, but without telling anybody how you're going to pay for it. So I don't think the conventions answered some of the big problems we have. And what I tried to lay out in the book is an economic framework for each of our problems, starting with our political morass right now with the money that goes into elections, but then go into things like our finances. How are we going to pay for all this stuff that we're With $3 trillion in debt and heading into an even deeper morass.
Sure.
So how are we going to pay for that? And what are the tough trade-offs? So the Democrats in particular have in their party platform issued a lot of specifics, but they haven't said how they're going to pay for it. Republicans have taken a whole different tack. They're just going to say more of the same. So they basically just said, we're going to take our platform for 2014, and it's the same thing. And Donald Trump, sent out a bullet point thing of 50 points or something. It was basically more of the same. So I'm frankly not impressed by either one. I think citizens need to insist on more.
Well, when it comes to spending and when it comes to kind of the government's duties as well, I mean, you hit it on. I mean, we just saw the story a couple of days ago saying that the national debt's going to surpass the entire year's GDP for the first time since World War II. So we have a serious spending problem that no one seems to address. Now, you mentioned the disengaged voters, and I agree. There's such a large population in America that's disengaged. They'd rather hear about what Kim Kardashian's doing on Twitter than what the government's actually doing on a regular basis, which to me is sad, and that burns me up, but that's because I'm a civically minded individual, and I'm a dork that way, which is okay, and I'm all right with that. But the Trump populism, we talked about populism back in the 2016 election because Trump really wasn't necessarily the most conservative constitutionalist guy like a Ted Cruz was, that many conservatives flocked to Ted Cruz, but he brought out the populist movement. We want to fix things. We're frustrated. He's a business guy outside of politics, and he's going to rally it. And a lot of people that normally weren't engaged in politics suddenly became somewhat engaged in politics. Is that crowd still there for this election? Are the quote-unquote populists still excited to rise up for Trump, or is that kind of dismantled by now?
No, I think it's pretty clear that the populist movement, the Trump supporters are more motivated than ever, as far as I can see. I mean, they're going to show up on hell or high water on November 3rd. So I don't think I think though what I would say, Andy, is that I think we get caught up in the media and as writers in the characterizations. The characterizations being liberal, conservative, nationalist, Democrat, Republican, Christian, agnostic, populist. I think it's, most citizens in the United States would quickly agree with the fact that, we have connections to our founders' values. We have connections to the whole concept of American democracy, and we like capitalism. Those are the three things that are sort of most Americans, I think, would immediately agree on, no matter where they are. So if we recognize that no one group or no one ideology has all the right answers, then we can start thinking about, okay, what are the right questions? Why are people motivated right now? Well, it depends on which segment of the audience you look at. So if you're looking at the folks who have lost out economically over the past several years or the past couple of decades, they have an entirely different perspective than business might have, for instance. So each one of these groups has different questions. And what I've tried to do in the book is say nobody's got all the answers, but we need to hold politicians to the right. We need to ask the right questions, because by asking the right questions, we can then get to the point of holding these guys accountable. Right now, we're just not getting things done. The only way things get done is by executive decree. That is no way to run a democracy, frankly.
No,
I think we all might agree that if we could get people to sit down in a room and debate and talk about things, and frankly, in the citizen groups they've established around the country, where they sit people down and they talk about an issue, and they pull different people from different groups, but liberals, conservatives, disengaged, whatnot. What you find is if you familiarize people with, a reasonable set of facts, they can come to common ground on most of the issues. You're never going to come to common ground on all of the issues, but I think we can come to common ground on a lot more issues than we do. But what's inhibiting that right now is the far right and the far left are so far apart from one another, and they're so in control of the Republican and Democratic parties that it's really hard for them to see common ground. And that's very frustrating for most voters, and I think they're going to take out their frustration on November 3rd. As to how that will play out, let's wait and see.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. We're talking with Mac Regan. The 2020 American Revolution is the book. You're right. We've forgotten to dialogue and debate, and when we do debate and actually sit down and have a conversation and try and find the common ground, which I love to do on the show, we try and not just use the bumper sticker arguments, the 120-character tweet arguments where that's just it and all of a sudden you're an expert on it. But once we unveil the layers of those onions, per se, we can at least find common ground and say, all right, now we can move forward. And I guess that's kind of the quote-unquote moderate position that we could find at the end of the day, where we could find that common ground, but we've forgotten how to do that, and I think it's largely because of these bumper sticker arguments that we get from the talking points on the way down, plus the social media that doesn't help in that shape or form. Anyways, we got to take a break in a minute. Can you stick over one more segment with us?
You bet.
I appreciate it. When we come back, I want to talk about the moderacy and where those moderates do fall into place, and can one of the parties or a separate party reach them or at least get to them in the general election? And is there a place for a third party? Because I've been very critical of third parties, and I don't know that third parties could actually be able to rise up and actually have a loud voice in the American politics in the two-party system. So we'll cover all that and more coming up on the show. It's a Thursday, the pre-Friday celebration. It's the Voice of Reason. We got a lot to get to today. Stay right here on the show.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left seems to find new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back, and we can help with that. Visit our website at HooserReason.com. There's some really great stuff for you. You can read the latest blog discussing topical issues and current events. Let us know your thoughts by filling out our monthly survey. Keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Listen to the podcast of your favorite guest or show, and check out our latest Voice of Reason product infomercials. Plus, you can find upcoming show schedules and guest lineups to plan your radio listening appropriately. And finally, make sure to become a Hoosier-holic by subscribing to the free newsletter. Stay up to date on the latest news of the show, fun facts of the month, and learn new ways to defend and preserve this great republic. It's all there at HooserReason.com. Again, HooserReason.com. Go check it out. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HooserReason.com. Miss part of the show? Don't worry about it. There's plenty of ways to catch the program, and here's how you can do it. First, make sure to tune in every day right here on your favorite radio station. We're here for you. Second, subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite sites. YouTube and iTunes, Spotify and Google Play, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. Have the show automatically downloaded to your favorite device. Last, visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can listen to the podcast, catch our special features, and more. It's the Voice of Reason on radio, TV, and online, helping you defend and preserve this great republic.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Yes, you are. Welcome back into the program. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Trying to cram 10 pounds of reason into a 5-pound bag. Why? Because we have so much to talk about and such little time to do it. It's a Thursday. As a reminder for you as well, the newsletter goes out tomorrow, so make sure to visit HooserReason.com. That's Hoosier without an I. HooserReason.com. Subscribe to the newsletter. Become a Hoosier-holic. When they ask if you want to become a Hoosier-holic, you say, heck yeah, I do. Type in your email. It's free. We'll get you the monthly newsletter that'll go out tomorrow morning. We do that every month, so we don't spam you or anything every day. But we send you some good stuff on there with our monthly blog, which the website's been updated as well. The blog will post there tomorrow morning as well. All the goodies there at HoosierReason.com, plus on all the social media. Follow us at Hoosier Reason on all the social media sites. Sitting here with Mac Regan. The 2020 American Revolution is the book. We got a few minutes before we have to let him go as well. And I wanted to talk about a little bit about moderacy and third parties, because as you mentioned, so many people are frustrated with the parties, the Republican Party, Democrat Party. Do they properly represent me? It's tough. As a conservative myself, I get frustrated because half the time the Republican Party doesn't even represent my conservative values, and I get very frustrated with that as well. Every election, however, I see a major push for third parties, the Libertarian Party, the Green Party, whatever it is, but I've never really advocated to vote third party because there's not a loud enough voice, and they always, to me at least, seem to take away from the party that most closely aligns with you. It hurts that candidate as opposed to helping your own cause. I mean, is that where people are at, or are we seeing a rise more and more each year on third-party candidates?
Well, I don't think a third party in our current situation is viable. I think you're exactly right. It takes away votes from the party you're adjacent to, and that probably isn't what you had in mind. So, there are different forms of government, parliamentarian governments and whatnot, where you can put together coalitions of different groups. They might have 5 or 6 different groups, and 3 of them get together and form a government. That is not our system. We have a constitutional system that has historically, but not always, had 2 parties, and the 2-party system has functioned reasonably well. I think what we've lost, Andy, is sort of our ability for the individuals and groups who we basically hire in Congress to work for us, right? We've lost our ability to get those individuals and groups working together to create cooperation. So right now it's inhibiting cooperation. And this is a key element of what I might call social capital, and I talk about human capital, financial capital, et cetera, in the book. But social capital, when we build consensus, when we build trust, and we build reciprocity, it's what makes democracy run. But it's a liability when it's where we are now, which is it's creating distrust, a lack of cooperation, and division. So I think people need to look to themselves first and foremost. There are 4 things that all of us can do right now to sort of cut through the complexity, the fake news, all the divisiveness, in order to sort of get through these troubled times. I already referenced one earlier, which is try to avoid the characterizations, liberal, conservative, and recognize that no one group or ideology has all the answers. So look to what their policies are, and there may be some on the right you support, some on the left, most in the middle. The second thing I would say is people need to commit to truth. Where there's no truth, there is no trust, and that's where we are right now. So we got to verify as citizens, not blindly trust the sources that we use for information. That means using fact checkers and exposure to a range of media sources. So, and avoiding sources at the extremes, frankly. Let's call out lies. Let's call out misinformation. The third thing I think all of us can do is recognize that information bias starts from within. And we all suffer from confirmation bias based on our upbringing, our culture, our race, ethnicity, religious beliefs. Life goes on. Self-awareness of existing confirmation biases is critical if we're going to recognize, evaluate, and balance varying options. And the last thing I'll say is,
hold on, I tell you what, we got a hard break.
We need to support candidates who offer specific plans and structural changes to increase social capital's ability to help citizens find agreement.
There we go. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. While you listen to the delightful broadcast of the Voice of Reason, don't forget to check us out and follow us on all of our social media sites. Whether you're using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Minds.com, or Instagram, we're there for you. Find us at Hooser Reason on any of your social media platforms. You'll see special commentary, links to the articles and news that we use on the show, and videos of the broadcast. Plus, you can directly send us a message on social media during the show to let me know your thoughts. Many already do, and it's a great chat room for all of our great listeners. And you can always sign up for the Patreon site to get exclusive content, maybe hear show products before we air them on the radio, and a lot more. And when you support us on Patreon, you also help the show be able to fight for conservative values each and every day. So it's a win-win. Just find us at Hooser Reason on all of your social media platforms, or you can find a link to all of our social media sites on our website at HooserReason.com. We know you're on social media already, so bring some reason into your day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.
The Hooser Media Network is way more than just the voice of reason. It's your source to find numerous different online talk shows, podcasts, TV, and radio programs, all in one simple online location for you. From political talk to health talk to whatever you may be interested in, we're here for you. And I tell you, it's growing every day. Catch Tracy Maxfield with her podcast, Engage, Educate, and Empower, discussing mental health issues in children and teenagers. From bullying, teenage suicide, addiction, ADHD, and so much more, learn from Tracy and her guests about symptoms, signs, and ways to talk to your children, plus so much more. Having battled depression, being the author of the internationally acclaimed book, Escaping the Rabbit Hole, and being a retired nurse, Tracy is kind of the go-to on the subject. Make sure to find her on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, along with her website at tracymaxfield.com. Also, make sure to tune into the weekly podcast Jump, Pivot, and Roll with Shannon Stiles and Rachel Murphy. Taking that next big leap of faith is hard. Trying to write a book, maybe struggling with a relationship, looking to take that next big career step. What's stopping you? There's a lot of big questions there, and they're questions that Rachel and Shannon want to help with you each and every week. It's Jump, Pivot, and Roll on any of your favorite podcasting sites and on Facebook and YouTube. All of these shows and a heck of a lot more can be found on the Hooser Media Network Facebook and YouTube channels. Make sure to follow and subscribe to check them out today. Follow all the shows, and if you have any inquiries, check us out at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hooserholic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com. Oh, hi. You know, conservative messages now are more important than ever before. Election season, state legislative issues, and a rise in the radical left socialist progressive agenda. What we really need now more than ever before is knowledge and wisdom. That's where we come in. Hi, I'm Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason, and I'm your voice for reasonable talk, conservative commentary, great guests and entertainment on radio, TV, and the internet. It's time to bring some common sense back into the discussion. National issues, state legislative issues, no matter where you may be, upcoming elections, and a heck of a lot more, we can bring traditional values, constitutional principles, and local activism back. And here's what you can do. First, follow us on all the social media platforms at Hooser Reason. You can watch the live stream of the show, leave comments, and even call into the program. Second, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all of your audio devices, from iTunes and Spotify to Google Play and TuneIn. Make sure to subscribe to have every episode automatically downloaded so you don't miss a single episode. Third, make sure to visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can catch our monthly blog talking about deeper discussions, see who's coming on the program, plus you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter to catch the latest on the show, monthly topics, upcoming interviews, and more. It's time to be that local activist again. That's what the Voice of Reason's all about. Why? Because that's kind of the reasonable thing to do. And it's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network.
When Reason Meets Radio. You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Welcome back into the Voice of Reason. Thanks for hanging out with us, no matter where you may be, radio, TV, live streaming, podcasting. Thanks for being with us on a daily basis. Podcast numbers continuously going up. We got stuff going on all over the place. Again, make sure to sign up for the social media at Hooser Reason on all your Facebook Live, Twitter, LinkedIn. We are on Parler, by the way, as well. If you don't do the Twitter thing anymore because evil Twitter doing dumb things. We are on Parler. We are on minds.com. You can find us on there. All of them at Hooser Reason. Make sure to follow us there as we try and keep you informed on the latest and greatest of what's going on. Thanks again to Mac Regan. An interesting perspective on stuff. Not necessarily conservative, progressive, just here's the facts and here's what's going on. Now, one thing I will disagree with him on, where he said that one ideology doesn't have all the answers. I'm sorry, but conservatism, I think, at least to me, has 99.9% of the answers, at least to keep us going. Now, humans don't have all the answers, which is why we look towards a higher power, towards reasoning sometimes, rather than the government's answering. But nonetheless, it's a valid point. I think constitutionally and conservatively, we can solve just about all the answers, and the other ones we can't are kind of out of our hands anyways, right? See what we did there? Welcome back in. So, I want to get to, by the way, we got to do our daily check-in with the man himself, Joe Biden. How we doing, buddy?
I want to be clear. I'm not going nuts.
All right. Just making sure. Are you tired of picking on you, Joe?
Come on, man.
I know. It's okay. I do want to shift gears just a little bit, though. There are two things that I want to get to, and we'll try and get to both of them if we can. So, there was a press conference held earlier today by the very own press secretary to President Donald Trump, Kayleigh McEnany. And wonderful, by the way. She is rocking it, and she does not take anything from the media in any way, shape, or form. However, here is the press conference. Breaking news on what's trending today.
What's trending today?
Here's Kayleigh McEnany as she reports where Nancy Pelosi has been hiding all this time because they've been looking for Nancy Pelosi. Where in the world is Nancy Pelosi?
2 briefings ago, I asked, where is Nancy Pelosi? Today, I can announce we have found Nancy Pelosi. As you can see, we found Nancy Pelosi going into her hair salon. We will be playing the video on loop for all of you to see during the duration of this introduction. Nancy Pelosi was not in the halls of Congress when I asked where she was. She was not working in good faith to make a deal for the American people. Nope, Nancy Pelosi was found in San Francisco at a hair salon where she was indoors, even though salons in California are not only open for outdoor service. Apparently, the rules do not apply to Speaker Nancy Pelosi. She wants small businesses to stay shut down, but only reopen for her convenience. Do as I say, not as I do, says Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi is holding up $1.3 trillion in relief for the American people while getting special access to the very kind of small businesses that this money would support, businesses like this hair salon. Before she skipped town to violate her state's health guidelines, Pelosi proposed a bill. It was called the HEROES Act, which contained no additional paycheck protection funding. This is funding that would help the very small business she has bizarrely accused of plotting against her. Nancy Pelosi is demanding an apology from a single mother and small business owner who has received threats since Nancy Pelosi's comments against her salon. Salon owner Erica Kayas said this: "Since this happened, I've received nothing but hate text messages, death threats, saying they're going to burn down my hair salon. It's just sad that my community is pulling this, saying that I threw her under the bus when I did not. So that's hurtful. But yes, I think I'm pretty much done now. Nancy Pelosi, you ought to apologize to the American people. Or better yet, come back to Washington and get to work for hardworking Americans like this salon owner that you maligned and demanded an apology from." And
Boom. There it is. Mic drop. Kayleigh McEnany. Now, that audio came from the White House Facebook page with their press conference. There's a couple things to take away from this. First off, I don't really care about the whole salon thing. People have been talking about it. It's just politics, and it drives me nuts. But there are a couple things that we need to take away from this. First off, well done to the White House and the White House press secretary for actually coming out and exposing it, and it was hilarious in the way you did that, so well done. First off on there. Second off, yes, it is true that progressives are very hypocritical, do as I say, not as I do, because I'm going to tell you you can't open up your business, but yet I'm going to go and get your services because I'm super duper special, and you can't tell me otherwise. But we already know that. The more important point to me, at least here, is number one, that the fact that she goes to the business and then she gets in trouble for it and then blames the business for setting her up. Now, politically, going into an election season, does this really look good for the Democrats? I know Nancy Pelosi thinks that she can get away with whatever she wants to, but and some of the other elites up there in Washington, D.C., but when you go there politically and you break the rules, and then you say, I was set up by a small business who's been struggling, who hasn't had their doors open, and we're going to try and connive to go after Nancy Pelosi. This is a hair salon that's in San Francisco. To my assumption, I'm assuming here that Nancy Pelosi has probably gone to this hair salon before. Along with my assumption, I would assume that they're probably on the more progressive end of the aisle because they live in San Francisco. And if they have someone like Nancy Pelosi show up to their hair salon the majority of the time, they either don't care about politics or they're on the more progressive end of the aisle in order to survive San Francisco. And for her to accuse a small business of setting her up to look bad, is this the typical left-wing progressive blame game of it's not my fault? I didn't know I was breaking the rules. I didn't know that the rules applied to me as well. Why would they apply to me? They're setting me up. The typical Democrat passing the blame. But how does this look politically? Going into an election season when Democrats are desperate to appeal to minority voters that they're losing on a daily basis after the stupid things that Joe Biden says. How are they appealing to business owners when Joe Biden literally comes out as the Democrat national platform for the COVID-19, saying we would shut down the entire country, which he has said numerous times. If I were in office, I would listen to the doctors and I would shut down the entire country. Shut it down. Lock it down. Mandatory martial law. Keep people at home. That's what he wants for a virus, by the way, that's killed less than 10,000 people on its own. Less than what H1N1 had done when we haven't even touched any type of lockdown during the H1N1 virus, right? He would lock it down. So he would lock it down, and then once by the way, 99% of business that's run in America is done by small business. So the business that keeps the economy going, that keeps your tax money flowing into the federal government, the actual GDP, the people every day, you and me, the Joe Schmoes, we're the ones that would be shut down, and we expect to vote for Joe Biden. I think small business owners are beginning to wake up a little bit on what's going on because they're hypocrites, they're liars, and then they try and pass the blame to you. You're just the Joe Schmo trying to do your living. You need to apologize to those elected officials because you tried to set them up. To the point to where the owner of the salon actually went on Tucker Carlson and she explained herself.
She had called the stylist or her assistant did and made the appointment. So
yes,
the appointment was already booked. So there's no way I could have set that up. And I've had a camera system in there for 5 years. I mean, I didn't go in there and turn cameras on as soon as she walked in to set her up. So that's absolutely false.
Absolutely false. She went on to say that her business, even though this whole shenanigan thing's happening, probably not going to last either.
For the past 6 months, we're pretty much done. I mean, we've lost at least 60% of our clients. I've lost the majority of my staff. So, 6 months is a long time to be closed down.
Especially for a small business. Now, again, I don't care about the whole going to the salon thing. I don't like to nitpick on people's actions. I don't like to, do the typical political thing on little mishaps that they do. Unless it's Joe Biden, because it's just entertaining. But the other politicians, I really don't care. The Barack Obama, the whole, I visited 56 states. That's not something that I like to harp on. I don't care. You make the laughs once in a while. When you're Joe Biden, you make them every time you open your mouth. Then it's something to pay attention to because, maybe you shouldn't be a leader if you have no idea what you're actually talking about and you fall asleep during interviews, or you say stupid things, or you make racist comments when you're trying to say Donald Trump's a racist, or you say you want to lock down the economy. But please, small business owners, continue to vote for me. I'll comment on those. But the little, I visited 56 states, unless you say that every single time you open your mouth, if it's a one-time gaffe, whatever, you let it slide. Because guess what? Everybody makes mistakes. I don't care. I don't care. And yes, Nancy Pelosi is a hypocrite. We already knew that. It's nothing newsworthy in that article. What I find interesting is that they pass the blame because she's very angry and bitter in her little life. So therefore, she can do no wrong. So when she gets criticized, then it's the small business owner's fault. That's what I find intriguing. Number two, politically speaking, this is suicide for the Democrats. Suicide for the Democrats. She's run the Democrat Party long enough. She knows what's politically okay and not politically okay, and she knows how to manipulate the media and how to use her power to abuse other people. She's done it for many, many years. Even her own grandkids are like, yeah, you don't mess with her because she will be vicious even to you within the family if you're not going along with what she wants. She's a very angry, bitter person. She knows how to play the system because she's been in the system long enough. So politically speaking, putting on the filter of a campaign manager or seeing the lens of an average guy just looking at politics today, you're like, wow, she's passing off the blame, attacking private citizens, attacking a single mother who's trying to run a business, and she's attacking her to apologize to the most powerful in Washington, D.C. because she feels that she can do so. To me, that's not very good politically, and if that leaks into the media, which they try to suppress it until Kaylee actually comes out and actually goes on a press conference today. Politically speaking, that's damaging to the Democrats. They continue to shoot themselves in the foot, which begs the question, while Joe Biden's getting older and has had 2 brain aneurysms and says really dumb things, and Nancy Pelosi getting older and saying some really ridiculous things, are they just getting too old? They don't know what they're doing, but yet they refuse to lose power, refuse to give it up? What it seems to me. But that's what they want to do. All the power to them. It's just going to help us in the general election. I don't know. When we come back, we'll shift gears a little bit. We'll have some fun wrapping up a Thursday. I don't know if we'll get to our other major topics today, so we'll do the best that we can. Until then, one more segment left on The Voice of Reason. Stay right here.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. While you listen to the delightful broadcast of The Voice of Reason, don't forget to check us out and follow us on all of our social media sites. Whether you're using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Minds.com, or Instagram, we're there for you. Find us at Hooser Reason on any of your social media platforms. You'll see special commentary, links to the articles and news that we use on the show, and videos of the broadcast. Plus, you can directly send us a message on social media during the show to let me know your thoughts. Many already do, and it's a great chat room for all of our great listeners. And you can always sign up for the Patreon site to get exclusive content, maybe hear show products before we air them on the radio, and a lot more. And when you support us on Patreon, you also help the show be able to fight for conservative values each and every day. So it's a win-win. Just find us at Hooser Reason on all of your social media platforms, or you can find a link to all of our social media sites on our website at HooserReason.com. We know you're on social media already, so bring some reason into your day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Miss part of the show? Don't worry about it. There's plenty of ways to catch the program, and here's how you can do it. First, make sure to tune in every day right here on your favorite radio station. We're here for you. Second, subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite sites. YouTube and iTunes, Spotify and Google Play, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. Have the show automatically downloaded to your favorite device. Last, visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can listen to the podcast, catch our special features, and more. It's the Voice of Reason on radio, TV, and online, helping you defend and preserve this great republic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HooserReason.com.
Oh, hi. You know, conservative messages now are more important than ever before. Election season, state legislative issues, and a rise in the radical left socialist progressive agenda. What we really need now more than ever before is knowledge and wisdom. That's where we come in. Hi, I'm Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. And I'm your voice for reasonable talk, conservative commentary, great guests and entertainment on radio, TV, and the internet. It's time to bring some common sense back into the discussion. National issues, state legislative issues, no matter where you may be, upcoming elections, and a heck of a lot more, we can bring traditional values, constitutional principles, and local activism back. And here's what you can do. First, follow us on all the social media platforms at Hooser Reason. You can watch the live stream of the show, leave comments, and even call into the program. Second, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all of your audio devices, from iTunes and Spotify to Google Play and TuneIn. Make sure to subscribe to have every episode automatically downloaded so you don't miss a single episode. Third, make sure to visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can catch our monthly blog talking about deeper discussions, see who's coming on the program, plus you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter to catch the latest on the show, monthly topics, upcoming interviews, and more. It's time to be that local activist again. That's what the Voice of Reason's all about. Why? Because that's kind of the reasonable thing to do. And it's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hooserholic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com. Hey, I hope you're enjoying the program today. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite podcasting sites and have the show automatically downloaded to your phone or computer every single day. Just find us on any podcasting site or go to HooserReason.podbean.com. And be sure to check out our Patreon site, become the ultimate Hooserholic, and help us fight for conservative values every day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Now back to the national broadcast of the Voice of Reason.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Welcome back into it. I really wanted to get into the election stuff today. I'm not going to have a chance to do so because we need to spend some quality time on it. I think, just saying election season probably is kind of important to talk about. So we'll do that tomorrow. Make sure to tune into the program tomorrow. We'll do the election coverage with Donald Trump saying that we should vote twice. Oh my. Is that true? No, it's not. So we'll cover that tomorrow because, of course, the media's lying. Donald Trump said. And just like usual,
you are fake news.
So we'll get into that coming up tomorrow. But there is some more interesting pieces out there. I don't know if you've heard of her name or not, Professor Jessica Krug. Jessica Krug. She is with George Washington University, associate professor. Jessica Krug admitted today that she is actually a culture leech. Why? Because for the last however many years, for years, when it comes to her public profile, when it comes to her adult life, every move I've made, every relationship I've formed, has been rooted in the napalm toxic soil of lies. According to the New York Post, And as she's 38 years old, says that she has been saying that her entire life she has been a black woman. And she is not a black woman. Seems to remind me of another individual that used to run like the DNC and used to run different organizations within the Democrats and used to say that she's black because she liked the black culture. So therefore she just identified herself as a black woman, even though she really wasn't a black woman. They call us the racists. I find this hysterical because they call Republicans the racists all the time. Donald Trump's a racist. Oh, we culturally appropriate. We eat tacos, so therefore we culturally appropriate Hispanic individuals. Oh, we like to dress in blackface. I don't know if you were aware or not, but every blackface that's been accounted for so far in different pictures, historical pictures, has been Democrats. Just throwing that out there. Every woman that is accounted for that said that she is a black woman when she's not a black woman has been a Democrat. And obviously, now I don't know her political affiliation. I'm assuming so, being a professor at a university. She could be conservative. I don't know, but I don't understand the whole cultural appropriation and blaming conservatives for being racist every single day. We get called that nonstop. I get called that being on the radio. Oh, you're a racist. Oh, you're a Trump. You're a bigot. You're a racist. You're a sexist. You're a homophobe. You're a xenophobe. You're a whatever. You're a Christian white Republican guy. You are the bottom of the totem pole, buddy. You better get used to it, right? That's what they try to say. So I guess it'd be cool to just identify as somebody else, but I wish I could do that. I wish I could just say, I'm going to feel like this today. But she's consistent. You got to give her credit. She's 38 years old, and her entire life, her relationship life, her career life, has always said that she's a black woman. Now she's coming out and saying that she has lived a napalm toxic soil of lies, and that she has actually been a culture leech by self-accepting that she is white and not a black woman. I don't know what makes you be convoluted enough to say that you are what you aren't instead of just being proud of who you are and just going on about your day. But I'm wondering, it makes you think, because everybody that's come out and actually done this has been on the left side of the aisle. It makes you wonder that now the cancel culture, the hate culture that goes on in society today with the left side of the aisle, where you need to be proud of, or you need to apologize for your whiteness, or you have your white privilege, or what other garbage they try and spew out there. I'm wondering if they don't try to identify something else because they're so guilty. They have so much self-guilt in their life, or they've done so many horrible, terrible acts in their life that they're trying to compensate for it. They're trying to fix their own issues. And therefore, because they've done so many horrible things, or they've thought so many horrible thoughts in their life, that they have so much self-guilt, it's eating themselves up alive. And therefore, they have to actually come out and identify as something else because they can't tolerate to be who they are anymore. It's not necessarily like a gender issue or a race issue or a culture issue. I think it's more of a self-guilt thing, where the blackface has been predominantly on the left side of the aisle. They say that eating tacos is discriminating against Hispanic individuals, or doing yoga is culturally appropriating Indian people, or you listen to soul music and therefore you're culturally appropriating black music, or I don't know, whatever they try and say. That maybe they've just done so many horrible acts and thought so many horrible racist comments themselves that they're just self-loathing. They just don't like themselves. It's not really necessarily them wanting to be a different color gender. They just want to be somebody else, which means that's a you problem. That ain't an us problem thing. That's a you problem, and you got to figure out your own issues, because I'm not there to fix your issues for you, although that's what conservatives do. We always come in and just fix your issues after you screw everything up for so long. That does it for us today. Back at it tomorrow to wrap up the week on a Friday. Until then, be your own voice of reason. It's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. This is the Voice of Reason. We're back at it tomorrow, plus all next week. We have some awesome guests. We're off on Monday for Labor Day, but until then, let's wrap up the week on a fun note tomorrow, shall we? Everybody have a great Thursday evening. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left seems to find new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back, and we can help with that. Visit our website at HooserReason.com. There's some really great stuff for you. You can read the latest blog discussing topical issues and current events. Let us know your thoughts by filling out our monthly survey. Keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Listen to the podcast of your favorite guest or show, and check out our latest Voice of Reason product infomercials. Plus, you can find upcoming show schedules and guest lineups to plan your radio listening appropriately. And finally, make sure to become a Hoosier-holic by subscribing to the free newsletter. Stay up to date on the latest news of the show, fun facts of the month, and learn new ways to defend and